it's critical that we have people with severe mental and intellectual and psychiatric conditions be flying planes and directing air traffic and all the other roles that the FAA perform. Just out of the blue, just because they have such severe disabilities somehow now is a higher level of qualification. I think this is insanity. Yes. I think this is absolute, total insanity. But what it tells me are the very people running the FAA are probably those that have severe mental and intellectual and psychiatric problems, and they just want more of them.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Safety News. This is Russ Kendzior and his real hip-hop buddy here, Sean Joseph. Look at you.
What's up, Russ?
What's
up, man?
You look really rocking today, man. Where'd you get the outfit?
I actually got this at a 7-Eleven. Great store for any 7-Eleven lovers.
So is that like free hat with heavy Slurpee?
Basically.
How does that work, you know?
Yeah. No, I had to pay for it. And the shirt's from Costco. So basically, I just got those just good old stuff going today.
Shirts from Costco. Huh? So this has been a free promotion for 7-Eleven and Costco. We got a really interesting show today. One I think you're going to find worthy of having a lengthy discussion about. And we're going to be covering a story that's definitely safety related, but it's got a really bizarre twist. And I don't know if you've been watching the news, Sean, but just this past week, January 14th, the FAA, and by the way, Sean, what does the FAA stand for?
Federal. Oh, shoot.
So you got it right. Federal.
No, I don't. That is right?
Yeah.
Oh, Federal Administration. Dang it. I don't know.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Federal. You got federal. All right. Federal Aviation.
Federal Aviation Administration.
Very good. Now you got it. So the FAA has come out with a new list of priorities, a new agenda. The FAA's diversity push now includes focus, wait for it, focus on hiring people with, quote, severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That's right. The FAA says people with, quote, severe, end quote, Sean, severe, right? Severe disabilities.
Yeah,
we're not saying casual, sometimes they get depressed. Severe disabilities are now underrepresented in the FAA's workforce, and they need more people who are flying aircraft and guiding aircraft on the ground, everyone related to the aviation industry, to have more severe disabilities. Thoughts?
Concerned initially.
Concerned?
Yeah.
Worried?
Absolutely. I'm gonna jump the gun a bit here. I know we're gonna go into it, but as we're just reading what we just read, I have a strong base opinion, unpopular opinion here. Everyone should have the chance and the opportunity to work as they choose for as long as they want. I have a strong opinion that folks that are battling or dealing with severe mental issues, we should be very thoughtful about having that work intersect with safety professions.
Bingo. This isn't about being prejudiced against people with disabilities, mental or physical. Not at all. But there are certain professions that require a certain level of performance that would prohibit somebody with severe is the word, psychiatric or mental conditions from doing the job. It wasn't that long ago that the plane crash, what was it, the Asian Air pilot flew the aircraft into the ocean. Remember that?
Yeah.
What if he had severe? Well, here's the policy, Sean, just so you know what it turns out to look like. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative, which is now spelled out on the agency's website. Quote, targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring, the FAA's website states. Quote, they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and for some reason they throw dwarfism in there.
I should laugh, but what the heck?
Oh, look, I think that dwarfism is the most underrepresented minority in the look. Well, our whole country is so down with the first black woman, the first Hispanic woman, the first transgender. I mean, just on and on and on. We never hear the first dwarf.
Fair.
I mean, people who are short, they get no respect. I mean, there's no move to help them. Now, I understand that the federal government is now looking to. Read it, Sean. I mean, read what it says.
Yeah.
They are actively recruiting workers who have suffer
That's scary.
from severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems. All right, let's cut to the frickin' chase here. You want somebody with a severe psychiatric condition flying your frickin' airplane?
Hell no. I don't.
No, but we're going to find them.
Yeah.
We're going to find them, and we're going to put them in the cockpit because somehow we don't have enough of that. Now, would we agree that this could certainly jeopardize public safety?
Yes, I would. Absolutely. Definitively.
Yeah.
What about you? Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that it would jeopardize public safety. And, you sit there and say, who's driving the car? Who's in charge of the plane here? The story goes on. The initiative is part of the FAA's, quote, diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving the FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel across our nation and beyond. I'm going to pause there. It's critical that we have people with severe mental and intellectual and psychiatric conditions be flying planes and directing air traffic and all the other roles that the FAA perform. Just out of the blue, just because they have such severe disability somehow now is a higher level of qualification, I think this is insanity.
Yes.
I think this is absolute, total insanity. But what it tells me are the very people running the FAA are probably those that have severe mental and intellectual and psychiatric problems, and they just want more of them. But this is a disaster. And this has nothing to do with prejudice or discrimination. This has everything to do with the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion movement, which is going to be proven to be an absolute nightmare. But by the way, a lot of people that are highly qualified will not be getting these jobs.
That's the other that never gets talked about.
Yeah. But what do we know is that the person who would otherwise get hired, who's highly capable, and I guess unfortunately they don't have a severe mental disability or psychiatric disability. Unfortunately, they don't have that, and so they get disqualified. So the most qualified people are shoved out the door for, I shouldn't say least qualified, but totally, in some cases, totally unqualified, just by the nature of the job. Only in an upside down and backward world does this make sense.
This type of stuff, in my opinion, is the bane of my existence, Russ. And I know that sounds, maybe sound dramatic, but for me it's true, which is you've got, of all professions, I can't think of one that is more dependent on utmost precision, mental clarity, mental incision, safety standards than air flight travel. One minor mistake at any point in the process.
I mean, say you're a ground controller, air traffic controller, and you just, I don't know, you're having a bad day. Meds aren't working, whatever. Not picking on anybody, and you just make a minor mistake, like, hey, there's a plane that you just directed to land on runway 31 East, and there's a plane that's on runway 31 East taxiing to take off. and you just didn't catch it. You didn't catch it. And that's hundreds of people whose lives are lost because the person who is in charge of safety was having a bad day and really didn't deserve to be in the seat. But because of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they were. And so the story goes on. The FAA's website shows the agency's guidelines on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd, 2022. Oh my God, Sean, that was almost 2 years ago. Wow, we have to update it sooner than that. The FAA is overseen, yes, by Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg. Department of Transportation, a government agency charged with regulating civil aviation, and they employ 45,000 people, which apparently they don't have enough dwarfs. That's the story. And by the way, there is the brilliant Buttigieg with, Joe, I got my helmet on backwards, Biden. I mean, you can't make this crap up. This is a safety disaster.
Yeah.
An absolute safety nightmare. But there is pushback.
Thank you.
Critics of such commentary have pushed back on the argument that prioritizing DEI has made traveling less safe, with civil rights group slamming Musk, because, you know, they always like to beat up on Elon Musk because he talks about this subject. You know, on the FAA's website, the agency states that people with severe mental and physical disabilities are the most underrepresented segment of the federal workforce. I mean, you sit there and you go, who gives a damn? Can't we just go back to Martin Luther King's message of judge me not by my color of my skin or my my gender or whatever, my faith, if you have faith, but judge me based on my character, my ability to do the job and to be the best person for the best job. I mean, isn't that kind of how your parents raised you? You want to be the best at what you do, right?
It is. My parents, right? I know your family comes from a similar line of thought, but and many families out there, which is, it's about merit. It's about discipline. It's about work. It's about, assessing who you want to become in life and then really working as hard as possible and being qualified to do the job. And not for, personal superiority or anything of that nature, but as we're applying it in this case, I mean, many people have the responsibility of getting millions of people across, flying across areas safely. That's not something that we can take lightly. And, I just want to personally say that I, have love for every human out there, and I want anybody going through any disability to not be prevented from having purpose, meaning work. Because I think work does a lot for the soul. I also think that we need to turn on our brains a little bit more. And what I mean by that is, you can't just look at the word inclusion and take that as a catch-all. And if we don't want to go that second, third, fourth click into asking ourselves, is this a good idea? How do we know this is a good idea? Where can this fail? Why would this fail? And I think all of those are applicable here.
Let's just change the job. You're not a ground traffic controller. You're a NFL football player.
Sure.
Not a lot of dwarfs in the NFL.
No.
Why not?
The physical requirements of the game.
They can't do the job.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with their character, abilities, strength, conditioning, mental acuity.
I'd love to be in the NFL. Never had a shot.
Who wouldn't? But my point is, does the NFL say, hey, look, our diversity, equity, and inclusion policy doesn't, really needs to be updated. It's been 2 years, and we need to have more dwarfs. Mm-hmm. I'm not picking on dwarfs. I'm just saying, you're not going to find a dwarf linebacker. Sorry, can't do the job. But, again, you just go back to their website. And this is a quote from Buttigieg. Because diversity is so critical, FAA activity supports and engages in a variety of associations, programs, coalitions, and initiatives to support and accommodate employees from diverse communities and backgrounds. Our people are the strength, and we take great care in investing in and evaluating them as such. end quote, according to the FAA. All bullshit. Total fabricated bullshit. That's going to cost a lot of people their lives. It's going to displace more qualified people from the workplace. It's going to discourage qualified candidates from stepping up to even wanting to apply.
Yep.
People are going to be lying about their height. I'm not 6'2", I'm 5'4". People are going to be encouraged to dumb themselves down to get the job.
That's such an important part of this. Is the other side, the degradation of the future of this work. Because you're fundamentally sending the wrong message for future generations to come. You're now priming the groups on what to be incentivized by, which is the wrong stuff.
Yeah, I mean, failure is good, right? Bad is good. You don't need to have the ability to do the job. We just need more people who are like you to be employed because somehow we feel better about ourselves. We're such good people. We mean so well, as they are literally destroying the world. It goes on. When asked for comment on the initiative, including what roles people with disabilities would fulfill, by the way, Sean, you notice how they did a 180 here, people with disabilities. We're not talking about people with disabilities. We're talking about people with severe disabilities. But it goes on to say people with disabilities would fulfill. The FAA told Fox News Digital that the agency thoroughly seeks and vets qualified candidates, quote, from as many sources as possible, end quote, for a range of positions. And that's code for we don't vet anybody for anything. You just have to look the right way and check the right boxes and you're in. And planes crash and people die.
Yeah.
Welcome to America. Hey, welcome to DFW Airport, where we only had one plane crash this week. That's what's going to happen. We're going to start to see plane crash after plane crash, after near miss, after all these problems. And we'll just start to say, well, look, we only had one crash this month. We're doing really well. Mm-hmm. Well, it used to be where if we had one crash every 5 years, that was a problem. Well, we're just going to make, safety, it's a moving scale. And they'll justify using numbers. You mark my words. This is how it's going to go. Well, each month DFW Airport has 100,000 people. I'm making these numbers up. Fly in and out of the airport, and we have a 99.9% safety record. What that means is 99.9% of those 100,000 people were able to leave. That's part. But what about those?
Right.
Oh, that's okay. We have a 99.9% safety record, and after all, look at how good we look. This is a cross section of America, and that's all they give a damn about is how things look, not how they are. Not that they're safe, but how they look to be safe. Mm-hmm. And so it's a fabrication. It's an abomination. Now, I used to call our country an abomination under Barack Obama. Abomination. Abomination.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, abomination. Anyhow.
I have a question for you, which is...
Shoot.
This is specific to aviation, but in your opinion, when anyone is looking to hire someone for a role, what should they look for?
Well, I'm old school. Best person gets the job. I don't care if you're man, woman, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, tall, short, dwarf. Best person gets the job.
How do you tell who
the most qualified person? You make it competitive because we are naturally competitive people. So you want to compete for the job, right? That's the way it used to be. It was hard to get into med school. You had to compete. You had to get really, really good grades, right? Advancing yourself, making the world better, safer, whatever it might be. Developing technologies was always for the better good of mankind, and it was competitive. Now we're going to dumb it down. Well, we don't care about your qualifications. We just want to know what the color of your skin is, and How about this one, Sean? Here's where it's going. Are you left-handed? We need Sean. We need more left-handed people.
Let's get some sound pause in there.
We need more left-handed people. I don't care you're left-handed. I really don't care.
Yeah, me neither.
Am I right? I don't really care you're left-handed.
Unless you're a lefty on the mound and you're pitching to a righty.
There you go. Now, amen. Now, if you're a lefty on the mound and you have a clear advantage to the right-handed batter, you're the best person for the job.
Cheers.
But in your job, I don't really care you're left-handed. It really doesn't matter. So to answer your question, the best person for the job should get hired. And you know what? It raises the bar. We all benefit from that.
Just want to
Right.
clap because that was beautiful.
I mean, that's the American way. See, there used to be, and I tell this story to my kids, is there's two definitions of the term fairness. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, when I say it's fair, well, it's only fair. And so there's the American model of fairness is you work hard, you get an education, you apply yourself, you advance yourself, you advance your career, you advance your life, and you make more money. I mean, it's only fair. You earned it. Right? That's the American definition of fairness. You earned it, you make
makes
more.
this country the utmost best.
Yeah, that's what makes America different. The European model of fairness is sameness. Well, we all work. Some of us actually don't work, but it's only fair that we distribute the resources of the country evenly. See, fairness is just a different definition in Europe. Socialized countries look at the term fairness very different than Americans do. Fairness there is equalness, sameness. It all comes out in the end. So what happens? People become lazy. They don't want to work. They're unmotivated. Sean, I lecture a lot on this subject. The world kind of has this love-hate relationship with America.
They do. Yes.
They love to hate us because we invent everything. We just invent everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. No offense, but what the hell do they come up with? I mean, name the technology. It's all American. Name the greatest advances in the last 100 years. All American. I mean, certainly since World War II, because we rebuilt the world. So if you really want to know who's making this world better, who's inventing the next cell phone, the next cure for cancer, we could go on and on and on with the amazing technologies, the amazing resources, the amazing minds that develop the best, medical treatments, the best, electric cars, spacecraft. We can talk about any area of technology, of what improves the world, what makes mankind better. It's predominantly American, USA. And I'm sorry, I know I have a big European audience, and I'm not downing them, but they don't have an environment to do better. It's not your fault. It's you live in a society where you're not expected to do more. In fact, the more you do, the less you make.
So
you're going to be punished for making more money. The taxes go up.
100%. So you just hit the nail. So it's many American born and raised have thrived, done exceptional things, and created unbelievable things that have changed the direction and trajectory of humanity. In addition, many folks from all over the world have chosen to leave their home countries for good reasons to be that, specifically in the United States, because the environment is created and fostered to develop your ability to become that exact person. You look at companies, right? Anybody has an issue with what I just said, look at Google. Larry and Sergey are of European descent, right? You look at, Stripe, one of the most prominent and impactful financial companies. Those founders are from Ireland, but they all built their infrastructure and ideas in this wonderful country because this country doesn't do the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's the American way. I mean, people from all over the world aspire, do whatever they have to do to get to the United States of America, to be an American. I mean, look at what's going on our southern border, just being inundated, flooded with people from around the world. Okay, well, why are they coming here? Well, they're coming here because of opportunity, for the most part. You may have some bad characters there as well, and that's another episode. But when it's all said and done, the American way makes a difference. And as we dumb ourselves down, as we hurt ourselves, the acronym for D.E.I. is going to read like this.
Wow, I don't know if you made that off the cuff. That's good stuff. And I don't take that lightly. I think there's some seriousness in that. I actually genuinely think the word inclusive might be the most harmful word in society.
We are literally, as a country, our fabric is being ripped apart. Bad is good. Good is bad. Success is failure. Failure is success. And you can only, a country cannot survive for long if the people that establish its culture believe in this nonsense, because it's destructive. It's destructive. And it will ultimately cost lives. We have people running our country who are the stupidest human beings on the planet. And I would go so far to say they're evil. The Bible calls them wicked. And I'm sorry. Many of them are. They just have they're not good people with bad ideas. They're just bad people. Really, really bad people. And you can sell it under diversity. You can talk about equity. You can talk about inclusion. But when people die and you continue to promote policies that cost Americans, the world. I mean, look, when you're on a plane, you could be sitting next to anybody. When you start to jeopardize airline safety, people are going to stop flying.
What matters more?
People are going to get scared.
Feelings.
Yeah, that's right. What's more important? Your feelings, feeling good about yourself, or safety? Everybody that flies, everyone that drives a car, anticipates that they're going to get from point A to point B safely. And the minute you start to...
Simple as that.
Yeah. The minute you start to minimize that, you start to make safety less important, and you're going to have more and more plane crashes, and you're going to have near misses. We see it now. I mean, it's not unusual. And what happens is right there. It's just going to happen.
Powerful stuff.
So this show's about safety and telling it the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not here to sugarcoat it. This has nothing to do with racism, prejudice, sexism, or any other ism. This has to do with safety, public safety, the right person in the right job. You want to make sure the person that's at the helm is qualified to do the job. If they're not, then they release the helm, and that's military talk. Number one, okay? You have custody of the helm because the captain is incapacitated. You don't say, well, the captain's incapacitated, and that's a good thing. We're glad you're incapacitated.
Yeah.
We're very grateful, Captain, that you're going through an epileptic episode. No, that's not good. That's not a good thing. But, that's what this show tries to speak to, Sean, is matters of safety, because safety matters. But we're going to have more on this diversity, equity, and inclusion subject as the show continues to evolve and grow. But in the meantime, when this came out, this just a week ago, I couldn't believe it. I mean, did you know that? Did you even know this came out?
This is shocking, and there's certain seminal moments in social dynamics and progress where I'm just like, oh shit. Like reading that, in flight and air travel, you want to specifically target folks who have severe mental or psychiatric disorders for employment. What the fuck?
Yeah. The key word is severe. Not modest, not passing, not treatable.
Yeah.
It's severe.
That's like...
Severe.
Yeah. That's
psychiatric
like
conditions.
Wanting to play with fire, to me. Like, I don't know. It's just... scary.
Well, that's probably good. You know what? That's a good analogy. People that have pyromaniacs, people like to start fires. That's a psychiatric condition. Yeah, let's hire them. Put them at the aircraft where the jet fuel is. You can't make it up. You literally can't make this stuff up. And again, priorities. Mm-hmm. This is where our country's at. This is where the leadership of our country is at. This is where, Sean, you've heard me say it before. I mean, if not all, most of our government agencies are just so messed up. I mean, we talked about Fauci. We talked about, CDC. We talked about branches of the military. We're now talking about FAA. We just keep going. Where does it end? The chaos, the absolute insanity. Where does it end?
Let me ask this.
I don't know.
Because you're absolutely right. Like, at some point, I believe, this is my personal belief, it requires really strong leadership to stand for something. Now, I'm not here to talk about right or wrong. I'm here just to talk about the act of standing for something definitive that one or a group of people believe in. And what I'm growing of the opinion in seeing stories like this is we can't get our head out of our asses. And I think it always ultimately starts with we don't have leadership setting a tone of clarity and standards.
Right. So if we don't seek to continue to grow and be great, then what's going to happen? We're going to be less. We're going to be worse. We're going to be weaker. All the things that you would not expect anybody residing in any country would aspire to be. It's as if we are we are destroying our very fabric as a country. And by the way, we are a superpower. So that's going to create tremendous imbalance in the rest of the world, who depends on us to be a powerful country.
And ones that have plotted to take us down for years or wanted to be the top dog.
Yeah. Well, and so they don't even have to fire a single shot. We're just moving in that direction, giving them exactly what they want under the nomenclature of diversity, equity, and inclusion, of which we will get none. We will get none. And so, anyhow, thanks for cheering me up, Sean. I really appreciate the...
I have one more question for you. Somebody out there is watching who maybe is on more end of the spectrum of DEI is important. And if that's the case, I support your belief system. There's many good qualities to what DEI stands for. My personal opinion is we're starting to just take it a little too far. But my question to you, Russ, is for somebody that's on more of that side, who has maybe an intuitive feeling that maybe this is getting a little bit out of hand, what would you recommend they consider or think about just as a starting point to not sway them anyway, but just consider these possibilities that may be eye-opening to you?
Well, first thing, I would disagree with the premise. I do not support DEI. People say America's a racist country. We're not a racist country. There's been bad things that have happened, but you could say that about a lot of countries. It was the Dutch who founded the slave trade. It was blacks, Africans in Africa that were selling the slaves to the Dutch. And it was a bad time. There's nobody going to justify, especially me, talking any benefits to slavery. But we're not a racist country. We're just not. And to set the premise that somehow we have been, and we're not. That diversity in and of itself trumps all else is a big lie. Because the beauty of America is we're naturally diverse. I mean, I'll give you a good example.
That's very fair.
We never. So when my son was looking at going to various schools, and we took him to some of the Ivy League schools, which were very disappointing. I mean, it was a disappointment then. It's even a bigger disappointment now. They were big on the whole DEI thing. I mean, they're all over the diversity, equity, inclusion, and we have 27% of our student body from Asian countries, 11% from Middle Eastern countries, and they just give you the laundry list of, almost like a grievance. Look at how good we are because we're bringing in people from all over the world. And I asked the question, well, are they qualified? My son, who, got a perfect SAT score. Perfect. Top of his class. Had a hard time getting into these schools. They didn't really want him because he was just one of those white males from an affluent community.
That had a perfect SAT score?
Perfect SAT.
Holy crap.
You didn't know that, did you?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, my little genius son. But anyhow, when we visited these campuses, what we saw with the DEI crowd? There was no DEI. Well, there's people from all over the world, but guess who they hung with? Guess who they were hanging with? Each other. Yeah. All the people from China were the Chinese people. The people who were Middle Eastern all hung with each other. They spoke their native language. They didn't mix it up. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like we're one big happy kumbaya family. We're all exchanging, these cultures. The fact is, everybody, regardless of where they were from, all hung out with each other. That's proof that diversity, equity, inclusion is a failure.
Yeah. Because
just because you bring in X amount of percent of people from different countries doesn't mean they're going to get together and share their cultures. Yeah. In fact, they don't even get together. And so you get a quick lesson when you go to these Ivy Leagues, and you see very, very quickly what it's about. It's really more of a theology. It's a seminary. They teach you. You're going not really to learn a lot about the world and yourself. You go there to learn about global warming and the theology of the left. And if that's where you want to be, fine. But you know what? You're not a better person. You're not a broader person. And frankly, I would go so far to say it's almost un-American. Look, I don't want my kids going to school where they're taught some theology about the world. I want them to be critical thinkers. I want them to make judgments for themselves. I want them to think for themselves. And I want them to use, their hearts, their minds, and their character to make decisions about not only them, but where they are in the world and how they can affect other people, how they can look out for other people. That's how I raise my kids. Not that because you're white or you're disabled or you're severely disabled, that somehow you're better or worse. We're all the same. I mean, people are people, okay? And give them the opportunity, but to go out and actively recruit because of a particular condition is just immoral. I'm sorry, it's just immoral.
I agree.
And sadly, Sean, that's where our country is. So with that being said, Sean, thanks again for cheering me up. It's an important subject, and it's one that I really think is worth covering, and we did today. And so, unless you got anything else to say, Sean, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up.
Just want to say thanks, especially for your thoughts right there at the end. I mean, agree. This country's amazing, but it's also, in my opinion, it's amazing because of intense sacrifices and risks that people took. That we have the benefit of enjoying now today, and I hope that we just don't take that for granted. Right? I'm not in opposition for new ideas. Personally, though, I'm not ever going to support lazy, improper thinking. And I think today's episode was truly a lens into how mentally we're just getting lazy. And we don't need to. Read, challenge. People are afraid of arguing these days. Call it whatever you want, but have the mental strength to read, learn, have independent thoughts, defend them, and stand up for the possibilities and the potential of this country.
That's right.
That allows you to do that.
That's right. Amen. That's it. It's really simple. The secret sauce of what made America great is pretty simple stuff. It's not complex. Faith, family, discipline, hard work, applying yourself, making the best of your opportunities. Nobody gets everything. Everybody gets something, but not everything. And when you apply yourself and you really put yourself in the shoes of other people, and you walk in their shoes, you see the world very differently. But when you start creating policies that force fit, it's going to be a disaster. It just doesn't work that way, and there's going to be pushback. But it's all that rebellion will come. Sadly, after major catastrophes, it's going to take another 9/11 to wake the country up, because there's a large percentage of our country, Sean, that just doesn't get it. Bad is good, good is bad, right is wrong, wrong is right. By the way, it's biblical. They talk about this in the Bible, end of times. I'm not certain if that's where we are right now, but it seems to be creeping in. And I'm more concerned, not for myself, but for your generation, because you're going to have a much, much, much more difficult time building the same quality of life that my generation, and frankly, your parents' generation, built for you. And that's a tragedy. That weighs very heavy on my heart. And for those of us who inherited this great country from the greatest generation, our parents, the folks who fought in World War II and sacrificed far more than certainly my generation has. What an insult! What a tragedy! What an absolute total insult! And again, without getting political, we're at a crossroads. I mean, how long can we go? How many more trillions of dollars do we need to borrow? How much more of this insanity? How many more wars do we need to get involved in? And we're borrowing money from China to give to the Ukraine. That makes sense to you? We're denying.
No, it does not.
We're allowing millions of people to openly cross
We're
our border.
$1 trillion of debt. We're not the money people that's like, hey, let's just take care of it. Like, we're lost a little bit.
I mean, think about it. It's like you borrowing $100 from your mom and dad to give to somebody else. And look, if you say to your mom and dad, I want to help somebody out, and you want to help me out, but we're borrowing money to give to Ukraine to fight a war against Russia, which we have no idea how the money is being spent and really what the end game is. But they need more, so we just send more. It's endless. And by the way, this is not from a president who's young and inexperienced. This is an 80-year-old man who should know better. But again, I deviate. I don't want to get off on a political riff here, but we are in so many levels of trouble where it's almost as if you sit there and say, when are the sane people going to come back and take control of the ship? Because right now, we have the most really just scary and dangerous people running our country. And when I say running, I should say ruining our country. And it's time to kind of wake up and take some effort, because remember what I said before, Sean? D.E.I is the same as D.I.E. I actually said that was Elon Musk.
Really?
Yep. So anyhow, Sean, let's get out of this episode. I appreciate you chiming in on this subject. So as usual, this is Russ Kendzior and Sean Joseph.
Stay safe.
Saying thanks for watching the program, and we will be back next week and talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.